Fascinating story. A university professor in the United States who refused to use the preferred pronouns of a biologically male student has won $400,000 from the university. Philosophy professor Nicholas Meriwether settled with Shawnee State University after filing a lawsuit in November 2018, alleging that the school violated his religious freedom and First Amendment rights. Meriwether, who taught at the school since 1996, always referred to his students using sir, ma'am, Mr. or miss. In January 2018, a male student asked the professor to use female pronouns and later filed a complaint. So joining me now to discuss this further is Professor Nicholas Meriwether and his attorney, Tyson Langhofer. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Brian.
Can I come to you first, Professor Meriwether? Can you talk us through the initial thing that happened? From my understanding, you were using terms such as Mr., Miss, as to foster a notion of politeness within the classroom.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. And the reason for it is that part of the reason for it is that I deal with extremely controversial issues. I teach ethics, I teach political philosophy. And so I think that creates a really nice environment for students to debate one another, to disagree with me. And I think that adds a lot of respect and dignity to the discussion.
And when this student asked you to use female pronouns, can you just describe what happened within that scenario? Are you able to talk to us a bit about that?
Well, the student approached me after class and basically demanded that I refer to him as female. And I explained to him that I could not do that in good conscience. And I sought an accommodation with the student. I was willing to use the student's feminine first name when I would engage the student in class. Initially, the administration went along with that. They thought that was fine, but then they changed course and they decided to require me to refer to the student as female. And so then I had to file the lawsuit eventually because I was under a disciplinary action. But I was not being punished for something that I was doing. I was going to be punished for something that I wouldn't do, which was to refer to a man as female.
So this is the key distinction, isn't it? This isn't about something you said. This is about something that the university attempted to force you to say. And so
that is absolutely right. It's a very important distinction.
Can I bring Tyler in at this stage? Tyson, can you explain to us about this important distinction? Because this sounds like what we would call here compelled speech. Is that right?
It absolutely is right. That Dr. Meriwether went out of his way to accommodate all of his students and treat them with respect. So this wasn't anything about what Dr. Meriwether said or did, but what the university was demanding he say. He was punished for not saying something. And so the First Amendment here in America is very clear that it not only protects your right to be punished because of something you said, but also that the government cannot punish you for something that they want you to say, and you say, I cannot in good conscience say that.
Dr. Meriwether, can I ask you for your reasons for refusing to use the pronouns as requested? Because a lot of people will say to you, well, clearly you must have hate in your heart, or you must be a bigot. How do you respond to that?
Well, the first reason, one of the reasons, but probably the primary reason, is that because of my Christian faith, I believe that God created male and female biologically. And so it is not biologically or theologically possible for a man to be a woman or a woman to be a man. But the other reason is that I think that this ideology is extremely dangerous and very destructive. And so I could not affirm it or agree to it in any way. So I had a number of reasons why I could not do that. One of them was my religious convictions, and another was you might think of it as my philosophical views of the matter. So I just could not go along with it.
And in terms, if I could just bring your attorney in again, just in terms of that, religious freedoms are presumably protected. Well, I know they are in America, and this does relate in terms, and it's clear that this ruling suggests that the university were completely in error to attempt Dr. Meriwether to force him to say something he didn't say.
That's right. And so the important part here is we're not talking about anything related to curriculum or related to Dr. Meriwether's official duties. Obviously, the university has the right to determine curriculum and so forth. But this wasn't what we're talking about. This was, attempting to force Dr. Meriwether to speak something specifically about what he believed about what it means to be male and female. And they wanted him to speak what their beliefs were about gender identity. And, he believes that words carry meaning. And they tell the truth about reality, beliefs, and feelings. And by communicating that message to his students, he would be communicating that he agreed with the university's ideology regarding gender identity.
I mean, that's very interesting, isn't it? Dr. Meriwether, because it feels to me like the equivalent would be if the university had said to the student, you must profess faith in Jesus Christ because your professor believes. In other words, you must profess a belief that you do not hold. Is that a fair comparison?
As a matter of fact, that is what the Sixth Circuit ruled, that the university then would be free to require all kinds of messages from both professors and students if this were to have not been overturned, this policy. So it was a very, very serious thing. And that I'm glad you brought that up, because this is an enormous win for college professors across the United States and for college students. It's not just for me. It really wasn't about me and the $400,000, which actually is almost exclusively legal fees. It was about defending the right of college professors in the classroom and students to affirm their own beliefs and not be coerced into affirming something they didn't agree to.
And I've been speaking to a lot of people who feel the same way as you, but they're not coming from a religious point of view. They're coming from the point of view that gender identity ideology is anathema to their worldview. And I'm talking about gender-critical feminists, many of whom are atheists. So it isn't really about your reasons, is it? It's about the principle which affects everyone.
That is correct. It's not only religious people that have an issue with it. It is, though, about coercing speech in higher education. The role of the university in a pluralistic society, for me, is to be a marketplace of ideas and not just an assembly line for one line of thought. And unfortunately, the university decided to take the latter tack and require me to affirm an ideology. It was a very, very serious thing. And so it's fantastic that the Sixth Circuit absolutely overturned the university's policy.
Can I ask Tyson Langhofer, can I ask how common this is becoming? Because I remember when the famous case in Canada with Jordan Peterson, when he suggested that he was similarly being compelled to use certain forms of speech, not that he even objected to using the preferred pronouns of his students, but that he objected to the principle of being told what he must say by the state. Can you tell us, is this case a one-off? Is it an aberration? Or is there a growing problem here?
There's a growing problem, unfortunately. We actually represent 3 teachers here in my home county of Loudoun County, Virginia, who are challenging a policy which is attempting to force them to do the same thing. We represent a teacher, a French teacher, who was fired here in Virginia for refusing to refer to a female as a male. And then we've got another case in Kansas as well. So it's not only in higher education, but also in the K through 12. And, this really implicates a broader issue. As you've indicated, there are a number of people engaging in this debate about what it means to be a man or a woman. And if we are to treat men as women, does that affect women's rights in various issues like sports or other issues like that? And so this isn't just limited to pronouns. It's limited to, and it's trying to restrict the debate on really important topics which are going to affect many areas of society.
Can I just come to you, Dr. Meriwether, for a final thought on this? How do you feel now about your relationship with the university? Hasn't this made things rather difficult for you to conduct your classes as you once did?
Well, actually, it enables me to conduct my classes as I always would have. And so it's a very great thing. We are a divided society. We are a divided university. There are all kinds of tensions, but disagreement is difficult. And so we just have to plow through. We have to march forward. But again, let me come back to this. This decision will enable me to perform my job much better in the classroom than I would have been able to otherwise. So I think it's a great win for everyone.
Well, that's very good to hear. And of course, disagreement should be at the heart of higher education, I would have thought. But thanks both. Right. Thank you both for joining me tonight on Free Speech Nation. Thank you.